How a British girl enjoys mornings in Japan. Japan hot beverage. There is something magical about mornings in Japan. The streets are quieter, the air feels fresh, small shops slowly begin to open the doors. Trains start carrying people toward work and school. The smell of freshly brewed coffee drifts through narrow streets, while somewhere in the distance, you can hear the soft sound of a bicycle passing by. For a British girl living in Japan, these mornings feel completely different from the mornings she grew up with in the United Kingdom. Back home, mornings might mean rushing out of bed, checking the weather, making a quick cup of tea, and trying to catch a bus or train before work. But here in Japan, she has slowly discovered something beautiful. A morning doesn't always have to be rushed. Sometimes, the best part of the day is simply taking your time. Today, we're following a British girl as she experiences one of her favorite things about life in Japan, a peaceful Japanese morning. From waking up in a small apartment to enjoying coffee at a quiet cafe, walking through peaceful streets, visiting a convenience store, discovering a traditional Japanese breakfast, and watching the city slowly come alive, this is a morning that feels less like a routine and more like a little adventure. So, let's begin. 6 a.m., the morning begins. The alarm rings at exactly 6 o'clock. For a few seconds, she doesn't move. The room is still dark, and the curtains gently move with the morning breeze. She reaches for her phone, turns off the alarm, and looks at the time. 6 a.m. She smiles. Okay, let's do this. Unlike some mornings when she immediately checks social media, today she decides to leave her phone on the bedside table. She wants to enjoy the morning properly. She slowly gets out of bed, opens the curtains, and lets the soft morning light enter the room. Outside, Japan is already beginning to wake up. The sky is a pale shade of blue. There are no crowds yet. No loud traffic. No busy conversations. Just the gentle sounds of a city preparing for another day. She stands by the window for a moment. This is one of the things she has grown to love about Japan. Even in a huge city, there are moments when everything feels surprisingly peaceful. She takes a deep breath. Good morning, Japan. And just like that, her day begins. 6:15 a.m., a quiet morning routine. Before going outside, she starts her simple morning routine. She washes her face, brushes her teeth, ties her hair back, and chooses something comfortable to wear. Today, she's wearing a simple sweater, jeans, and comfortable sneakers. Nothing fancy. She's not dressing up for a special occasion. She's simply going out to enjoy an ordinary Japanese morning. And perhaps that's what makes it special. While getting ready, she thinks about how different her mornings feel now compared with her life in Britain. In the UK, she often felt like mornings were a race against the clock. Here, she has learned to slow down. She doesn't need to make every morning productive. Sometimes, she believes, a morning can simply be enjoyed. She picks up her small camera. Today, she wants to capture everything. The streets, the food, the coffee, the people, the tiny details that are easy to miss when you're rushing. She puts on her shoes and steps outside. 6:40 a.m., walking through the quiet streets. The moment she leaves her apartment, she notices how calm everything feels. A few bicycles are parked outside nearby buildings. A delivery truck passes slowly down the road. A man in a suit walks toward the station. A woman is taking her dog for an early morning walk. Everyone seems to have somewhere to go. But nobody seems to be in a hurry. She walks slowly. She loves mornings like this. The sunlight reflects off the windows of buildings. A vending machine stands quietly on the corner, glowing even though the sun is already rising. She stops for a moment. One of the things she found fascinating when she first arrived in Japan was the number of vending machines. Back in Britain, vending machines exist too, of course. But in Japan, they seem to be everywhere. And somehow, even something as simple as buying a drink can become part of the morning experience. She looks at the selection. Coffee, tea, water, soft drinks. She smiles. Japan really loves convenience. But today she has something else in mind. Coffee, good coffee, and a quiet cafe. 7 a.m., discovering a Japanese cafe. After about 15 minutes of walking, she arrives at a small cafe tucked away on a quiet street. From outside, it doesn't look particularly dramatic. There isn't a huge sign. There aren't bright advertisements. It's just a small entrance, warm lights, and a few plants near the door. But that's exactly what she likes. She opens the door. A small bell rings. Arashaimasu. The familiar Japanese greeting immediately makes her smile. She bows slightly. Ohayo gozaimasu. She still remembers how nervous she was the first time she tried speaking Japanese in public. She worried that her pronunciation would be terrible. She worried people wouldn't understand her. But over time, she realized that even small attempts were appreciated. Now she enjoys using simple Japanese phrases whenever she can. She finds a seat near the window. The cafe is quiet. There are only a few customers. One person is reading a newspaper. Another is working on a laptop. Someone else is simply drinking coffee and looking outside. She opens the menu. There are several options, but she already knows what she wants. A hot coffee, and something sweet. Because, as she says, breakfast without something sweet doesn't feel complete. 7:10 a.m., the first coffee of the day. The coffee arrives. Steam rises gently from the cup. She takes a moment before drinking it. This has become one of her favorite morning rituals. She doesn't immediately take a sip. She looks at the cup. She watches the sunlight coming through the window. She listens to the quiet sounds around her. Then she takes her first sip. Her expression changes immediately. Oh, that's good. She laughs. She knows that coffee is not necessarily a traditionally British morning ritual. Tea has always had a special place in British culture. And she still loves tea. But since moving to Japan, she has developed a new appreciation for Japanese cafe culture. There is something comforting about sitting in a small cafe early in the morning. No loud music, no rushing, just coffee, food, and time. She takes out her notebook. Sometimes she writes down her thoughts. Today she writes, "One of the best things about Japan is that ordinary moments can feel special." She looks at the sentence, then smiles, because that's exactly how she feels. 7:30 a.m., a taste of Japanese breakfast. After finishing her coffee, she decides it's time for breakfast. Instead of ordering something familiar, she wants to try a traditional Japanese-style breakfast. Her meal arrives: rice, miso soup, grilled fish, a small portion of vegetables, and some pickles. She looks at the table. So much food. She laughs. At first, Japanese breakfast was completely different from what she was used to. Growing up in Britain, breakfast might have been toast, cereal, eggs, bacon, beans, or perhaps a quick bowl of porridge. But Japanese breakfast has its own character. Rice is often at the center. There may be fish, soup, vegetables, and other small dishes. Everything is arranged carefully. She picks up her chopsticks. She pauses, then says, "Okay, let's try this." She starts with the rice, then the fish, then a little miso soup. Her eyes widen. This is actually amazing. She never expected to enjoy Japanese breakfast this much. The flavors are simple, but everything works together. Nothing feels excessively heavy, and after eating, she doesn't feel like she needs to go back to bed. Instead, she feels ready for the day. 8 a.m., Japan starts getting busy. By now, the streets are changing. The peaceful atmosphere of early morning is slowly disappearing. More people are heading toward train stations. Students walk together. Office workers move quickly. Buses become more frequent. Shops begin opening. The city is waking up. She steps outside again and notices the difference immediately. Just 1 hour ago, the streets were almost empty. Now there is movement everywhere. She enjoys watching this transformation. Japan seems to have two personalities in the morning. There is the quiet Japan of sunrise. And then there is the energetic Japan of the working day. She decides to walk toward the station. Along the way, she notices small details. A shopkeeper arranging products. A cyclist waiting patiently at a traffic light. A school child carrying a backpack. An elderly man watering plants outside his house. Nothing dramatic is happening, but that's the point. She enjoys observing everyday life. 8:20 a.m., the convenience store experience. On the way to the station, she sees a convenience store. She immediately stops. "I need to go inside." She laughs because convenience stores in Japan have become one of her favorite places. When she first arrived, she thought they would simply be places to buy snacks and drinks. But she quickly discovered that Japanese convenience stores offer much more. Breakfast, coffee, rice balls, sandwiches, desserts, hot food, drinks, and countless little things you might suddenly need. She walks through the aisles. Her eyes immediately go toward the food section. There are so many choices. She picks up an onigiri. She looks at the packaging. She still remembers struggling to open one correctly the first time. She laughs. Japanese packaging defeated me. She buys a small snack and a bottle of tea. At the counter, she thanks the cashier. Arigatou gozaimasu. Then she steps outside. 8:40 a.m., eating outside. She finds a quiet bench nearby. The weather is pleasant. She opens the onigiri. This time, she manages to open it perfectly. She looks at the camera proudly. Look, I finally learned how to do it. She takes a bite. The simple taste makes her smile. She watches people passing by. Some are rushing. Some are walking slowly. Some are talking with friends. And she suddenly realizes something. She doesn't feel like a tourist anymore. She feels like someone who belongs to this daily rhythm. Not completely Japanese, not completely British, but somewhere between two cultures. And perhaps that's one of the most interesting parts of living abroad. You begin to discover that you can carry pieces of your old life with you while creating new habits in a different country. 9 a.m., a walk through a traditional neighborhood. After breakfast, she decides not to take the train. Instead, she wants to walk. She chooses a quieter neighborhood. The buildings become smaller. The streets become narrower. There are small houses, tiny gardens, bicycles, and traditional details mixed with modern life. She loves this combination. Japan doesn't feel like a country where the old and new are completely separated. Instead, they seem to exist together. A traditional, wooden building might stand next to a modern apartment. A centuries-old shrine might be surrounded by busy roads. A tiny garden might exist between two buildings. She stops to take pictures. Not because she has found something famous, but because she has found something beautiful. A small flower, a wooden door, a bicycle leaning against a wall, sunlight falling across the pavement. These are the moments she wants to remember. 9:30 a.m., visiting a small shrine. As she continues walking, she discovers a small local shrine. She wasn't planning to visit one today, but the entrance looks peaceful. She walks inside quietly. The atmosphere immediately changes. The noise of the city seems far away. Trees surround the area. The morning sunlight passes through the leaves. She stands quietly for a moment. She doesn't rush to take pictures. Instead, she simply looks around. This is another thing she has learned while living in Japan. Not every place needs to be experienced through a camera. Sometimes you should simply stand there. Look, listen, and enjoy. She offers a quiet prayer. Then she bows respectfully before leaving. 10 a.m., another cup of coffee. She checks the time. 10 a.m. Then she laughs. Is it too early for another coffee? She already knows the answer. No. She finds another small cafe. This one has outdoor seating. She orders an iced coffee. The weather has become warmer now. She sits outside. Cars pass occasionally. Birds move between the trees. Someone nearby is reading. The cafe staff move quietly between tables. She opens her phone and begins editing the pictures she took earlier. She looks through them one by one. The cafe, the breakfast, the quiet streets, the shrine, the little details. She realizes that none of these moments were particularly extraordinary. But together, they created a beautiful morning. 10:30 a.m., thinking about Britain. While sitting there, she begins thinking about home. She misses Britain sometimes. She misses familiar accents. She misses certain foods. She misses rainy afternoons. She misses having conversations where she doesn't have to think about whether her Japanese is correct. She misses the comfort of familiarity. But living in Japan has taught her something important. You don't have to choose between loving your home country and loving another country. You can appreciate both. Britain will always be part of her. But Japan has become part of her story too. And perhaps that is why mornings here feel so meaningful. They remind her how much she has changed. When she first arrived in Japan, everything felt unfamiliar. The language, the trains, the food, the etiquette, the streets, even small daily tasks could feel like challenges. But now she can walk into a cafe and order in Japanese. She knows how to navigate the train station. She knows which convenience store snacks she likes. She knows how to enjoy a Japanese breakfast. And she has learned to appreciate silence. 11 a.m., the city is fully awake. By late morning, Japan is completely awake. The streets are busier. Restaurants are preparing for lunch. Shops are open. People are moving everywhere. She walks through a shopping street. She looks at the displays. She sees traditional sweets, clothing stores, restaurants, small souvenir shops, fresh food, and colorful signs. There is so much happening around her. But instead of feeling overwhelmed, she feels excited. She stops at a small shop selling Japanese sweets. She asks the shopkeeper what they recommend. The shopkeeper explains a few options. She chooses one. She takes a bite. Her face immediately changes. Wow, she laughs. It's sweet, but not too sweet. She turns toward the camera. I think I'm becoming Japanese. Then she laughs again. Okay, maybe not. 11:30 a.m., a moment to simply sit. After walking for several hours, she becomes tired. So she finds a quiet park. She sits beneath a tree. The morning has been long. But she doesn't regret waking up early. In fact, she thinks waking up early might be one of the best ways to experience Japan. The early morning gives you a completely different perspective. Before the crowds arrive, before the tourist attractions become busy, before the city becomes loud, you get to see Japan in its most peaceful form. She closes her eyes for a few seconds. The wind moves through the trees. She hears birds. A bicycle passes in the distance. And she smiles. 12 p.m., noon already. She checks the time. It's noon. She looks surprised. Wait, it's already 12. The morning has disappeared, but it doesn't feel like time was wasted. Every hour was filled with something. Coffee, food, walking, photography, conversation, culture, reflection, and little discoveries. She realizes that this is exactly what she wanted when she moved to Japan. Not just visiting famous places, not just taking pictures at tourist attractions, but experiencing ordinary life, seeing what a normal morning feels like, understanding how people live, and finding beauty in simple routines. Final thoughts. As she walks home, she thinks about the morning. She thinks about the first cup of coffee, the quiet streets, the Japanese breakfast, the convenience store, the shrine, the park, the conversations, the small discoveries, and she realizes that perhaps the best thing about living abroad isn't seeing something completely new every day. Sometimes it's seeing ordinary things differently. A cup of coffee can become an experience. A walk can become an adventure. Breakfast can become a cultural discovery. A quiet street can become a memory. And a normal morning can become something you'll remember for years. Japan has taught her to slow down, to notice details, to appreciate quiet moments, to respect traditions, to try new things, and most importantly, to enjoy the present. She may have arrived in Japan as a British girl searching for a new experience. But little by little, the country has given her something much more valuable. A new way of looking at everyday life. She stops outside her apartment. The sun is now high in the sky. The peaceful morning has officially become afternoon. She looks at the camera and smiles. So, that was my Japanese morning. She pauses. And honestly, I think I need another coffee. She laughs. Then she walks inside. The door closes, and the morning adventure comes to an end. But tomorrow, there will be another sunrise. Another quiet street. Another cafe. Another cup of coffee. Another small Japanese discovery. And perhaps that's the real magic. You don't always need a huge adventure to create a beautiful memory. Sometimes all you need is an early morning, a warm cup of coffee, an open mind, and the courage to slow down. For this British girl, Japan isn't just a place she lives. It's a place that continues to teach her how to enjoy the little things. And maybe that's something we can all learn. Wake up a little earlier. Put the phone down. Take a walk. Try something you've never tried before. Sit somewhere peaceful. Talk to someone. Taste something new. Look around. And appreciate where you are. Because life isn't only made of big moments. It's made of thousands of tiny ones. A sunrise. A smile. A cup of coffee. A quiet street. A warm meal. A beautiful view. A simple conversation. And sometimes, those small moments become the memories we treasure most. So, if you ever find yourself in Japan, don't feel like you have to rush from one famous destination to another. Wake up early. Step outside. Walk without a strict plan. Find a small cafe. Order something you've never tried. Watch the city wake up. Listen to the sounds around you. And let yourself experience Japan slowly. Because sometimes the most unforgettable side of Japan isn't the Japan you see in travel guides. It's the Japan you discover at 7 in the morning, when the streets are quiet, the coffee is hot, and the entire day is still waiting to begin. And for our British girl, that's exactly what makes Japanese mornings so special. A morning in Japan isn't simply the beginning of another day. It's a chance to pause, to breathe, to explore, to appreciate, and to fall in love with the little things all over again. So tomorrow morning, when the alarm rings, perhaps she won't be thinking about what she has to accomplish. Perhaps she'll simply open the curtains, look at the sunrise, smile, make herself a cup of coffee, and say, "Good morning, Japan," because sometimes, that's all you need.